The following is a special video presentation of the Hennepin County Library.
Hi, welcome to a discussion with Marlene Sorosky, an award-winning cookbook chef that we have here today with Entertaining on the Run. These are easy menus for faster lives. Hello, Marlene.
Hi.
Are we glad to find you? Because we have such fast lives, we can't get our cooking done, and you found the way to do it, huh?
I sure hope so. You know, I say in my book that not all my recipes are to be made against a stopwatch. A lot of them are, but a lot of it is to have a game plan instead of a battle plan.
And that is such a positive thought. Now, this is nothing new to you. You've been doing cooking and writing books for over 20 years.
Right.
This is sixth book.
Right.
Million copies out there of all kinds of things, and I think desserts was the big one. The name of that one?
The Dessert Lover's Cookbook.
And I think I've heard nothing but good about that. Is it? You got a sweet tooth too?
You know what my definition of a dessert lover is? This is who I dedicated my book to. It says they're dedicated to dessert lovers everywhere. And the definition of a dessert lover is one who plans an entire meal around dessert, one who knows what he or she will have for dessert even before being seated in a restaurant, and one who knows that fruit is not dessert.
Oh, thank you, Lord.
And so only a true dessert lover could write a definition like that.
Now, how do you stay so trim? Were you starting to take the fat out of the dessert, or we eat smaller portions?
No,
is that part
smaller
of it?
portions. I don't believe in making it half as good. Just eat half as much. I want my dessert to have all the decadence it can have. But you know, I think my Dessert Lover's Cookbook is so popular because the recipes are so simple, and yet they don't come out that way. In fact, I think that's why all my books are so popular, but especially the desserts, because most bakers, they spend so much time, and you have to weigh the flour, and you have to sift the flour, and measure the flour, and then re-sift the flour. I never sift flour. I mean,
and my desserts taste... I thought I was breaking the rules.
I know, we only do it in the privacy of our kitchen.
Yes, yes. And you can get away without sifting nowadays, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I haven't for 25 years.
Now, you have been cooking all these years, self-taught in a lot of the ways, or how do you learn new things as you've gone from cookbook to cookbook?
I'm totally self-taught. I started teaching in my home to raise money for my kids' PTA.
Oh, I love it.
And it was really fun. And you know, and then it just got so big that people asked me to do it professionally. And then, after 10 years, someone reported me against city zoning because I was...
Reported you?
Yeah, they reported me.
The kitchen wasn't a commercial kitchen or
whatever. It wasn't a commercial, and I was conducting a business in a residential area, and there was this knock on the door after one of my classes, and there was this little man standing there with this little pink slip that said cease and desist.
Oh.
And so it said 6 months in jail and a $500 fine.
Of course, you waived the jail and gave a cooking class, I hope, or something like that.
No, I built a cooking school and a cookware shop was what I did.
Oh, how wonderful.
And then I started getting really insecure. And I thought, oh, you know, I've been doing this for 10 years, but it's been in my home. And even though I taught like 120 people a week, I was really busy. I could see why the neighbors would complain.
The cars were lining up along the sidewalk,
exactly.
I suppose. Yeah.
And, but you know what, then I had Jacques Pepin come, and I started assisting Julia Childs, and James Beard came to my school. I had all the big greats,
Wonderful
but I was so insecure. Because what I would do, like not sift flour or whatever it was in my home, I felt like, well, here I was, quote unquote, the professional.
Yes.
And that I had to start doing things their way. So, you know the French rolling pin that it's not the ball bearing one. The ball bearing one has handles, and the other one is long.
And thinner.
And I thought, well, all these French chefs were coming, and they only used the rolling pin without the ball bearing. So I struggled to change to that rolling pin so I would look more professional. And one day I just threw it across the room and I said, you know what, I'm a home cook. It doesn't matter where I am cooking. I am a home cook, and that, you know, people are either going to like my way or they're not, but I'm not a chef.
So you don't feel we have to go out and buy all the really unusual kind of equipment to succeed with your kind of recipes?
Not at all, and I never, or equipment or ingredients. All my ingredients should be available at a local market. And I make sure, I mean, I call people around the country asking them.
Now, we see you on Good Morning America giving tips too frequently, don't we?
Yes, right.
And are you East Coast based or West Coast based now?
Well, up until a few months ago, that was like April of '94, I was in Baltimore.
So you've been on the East Coast all these years, but now you have become a West Coast
That's right.
cook.
Yeah.
Now, will you be teaching out there too, or just continue with your writing?
I'll continue with my writing, and I'm also doing something else that I'm really interested in, and that's some videotapes for Hallmark cards.
Oh.
Because I am one of the few people in the country that do the invitations, the centerpieces, the table decorations, the room decorations, along with the menu, because I believe so strongly that a party or even a get-together is not just about food.
Well, and that's what's happening in this book. This is your first book, then, to pull together every little variable, perhaps, that a hostess should know in the home or for any special event with food. It's not just what's on the plate anymore, is it?
Right. Now, where does the party start? Where you invite your friends. It's fine to call them up and invite them, but maybe you want to do something that's a little more exciting. So a little later on, I'm going to show you some really great invitation ideas from the book.
Okay. Well, now I have to look who you dedicated the book to. This is wonderful. All these children, do they cook? These are your children, no? No, they don't cook?
My oldest at least knows how, but I have two daughters that don't cook. Absolutely. One's a vegetarian. She's been a vegetarian since she's been 6.
Didn't you tell them how easy it is with your recipes?
I don't know what it is. They're definitely, women of the 90s.
Well, we all are so busy, and what I thought was interesting today when we look through the book, we'll take a few minutes, hear how you built the book, what's going on in the book, and then you will show us some of the tips that you suggest with the tabletop and the invitations. You've divided your book up into categories, not alphabetically, not by the time of day, but by the theme. And if people have a chance to look at the table of contents, I see something called morning glory, midday meals, team cuisine, grand grilling. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you chose these selected categories.
Well, I think that cooking has changed so much, and entertaining has changed so much in the 90s.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, that the old, I didn't want it to be like my other books. The old fancy dinner parties are really out. People don't have time. So what do they have time to do? They have time to cook together or to do potluck or start a gourmet club. So I have one whole chapter called Team Cuisine, which just basically, it gives you 3 different ways of getting together with your friends and cooking. One is to have everybody bring a topping and to buy the already prepared pizza crust, or I give you other ways of doing it, and to have everybody come in and top their own pizza.
Okay, like a taco party, only you make your own pizza topping.
Right,
okay.
And it doesn't matter. It's the idea is, I don't have time to entertain. I want to see my friends. Let's have everybody come into the kitchen.
Plus, have you noticed the kitchens are coming back into the living rooms?
Oh.
People in the younger generation are buying homes with an open wall, where in my mother's generation, we wanted to have a wall to keep the dirty dishes out of the living room. Now the counter comes out, we're standing around the counter, we're in the kitchen. And you're right, it's a social center now, isn't it?
Right,
again?
and I think that really shows how changed our entertaining is. The fact that they're called California great rooms or whatever they're called.
Yes,
the
great
kitchen
room.
is all part of it. And that right away tells you about our lifestyle, how casual it is. So I've made my book so much more casual. And then I have 2 other, well, of course I have the typical potluck party.
And what's the difference between a potluck party and maybe a game plan party with a team? The team doesn't bring things, but potluck they do?
That's right.
Okay.
The team is everyone comes into the kitchen and cooks. Potluck, everybody brings something,
their own.
Which is not always so easy. Because if they don't bring everything, including the platter and the serving utensils, and you as a host are stuck, 6 dishes are all of a sudden in your kitchen, and you have to start running around. So you even need a game plan for potlucks. And then my 3rd menu in that chapter is a progressive dinner, and this one's around the world. It's one of my favorite menus. It's a different course at each person's house, so you can't drink too much because you need to drive.
Or have it in one block and walk.
Right.
With neighbors.
Right. I guess that would be great if you could do that. And then the invitation idea is the passport. And you start out in the Orient with some Oriental hors d'oeuvres, and I tell you how to decorate it. And then you move to India for the soup, and then you move to Italy for the main course, and then you go to New Orleans for this wonderful chocolate caramel praline roll, and then around the world coffee bar.
Oh, now I have that one in front of me just to look at, and I see you do have a game plan, which is what the hostess should think about at some time out, not always the day of the event, obviously, and you have extra points for different things. Now, the extra point category means these are additional things that you can put hooks on to make the party more.
Right, they're mostly the decorations and the centerpieces,
Okay.
and they are really the extras.
You wouldn't have to do them if you were the kind of person who just wanted to serve a meal.
Exactly, and so what I'm trying to do is get rid of all the guilt that we have around entertaining.
Yes.
Whatever you do is fine.
And you do receive extra points in your heart for doing it. Oh, I'm
right.
such a good guy. Well, now you've gone a little bit further and you've covered the health angle too and the time preparation angle. Every recipe has a little tip. In fact, I see here one called Mini Thai Crab Cakes from your Progressive Dinner Around the World from China Moon, Barbara Trapp's restaurant in San Francisco.
Right, it's an adaptation. Hers was a little more involved.
Okay, so then you found a recipe that you've liked. You tested it at home, or how did you plan that? I understand you do quite a lot of research on your recipe.
Oh, I do an incredible amount of testing.
Makes it
I do
easy
all
for
this
us then,
side-by-side testing. Yeah, I am known for recipes that you can make the first time for company.
And why does that happen? What kind of trial and error do you go through at home?
Oh, I make it about 42 times.
You're kidding me.
No, I do have recipes that I literally have made about 40 times, but I would say there's not a recipe in there that I alone have not tested at least 10 times.
And when you test it, for those of us who are maybe viewing today and haven't done testing, that might mean if you've used a half a cup of sour cream, you might say, I wonder what it'd be like if we used the fat-free sour cream, because it might be runnier, and so you'll do another whole recipe and try it that way to test, right?
Right, and you will see all those tips in my book. Like, don't use non-fat yogurt for this because it's too thin. And because I've tried it all those different ways.
Have you ever heard the tip from a lady I know who was working on fat-free things, and she had the same problem, everything was runny, that you could put a little dry powdered milk sometimes in? Have you ever tried that little idea?
No, that's a good idea.
I don't know if it would work, but she said it would thicken it without adding calories.
Yeah, it's a very good idea.
Now, what about fat-free mayonnaise? Is that any of you tried that one?
Yeah, I have, and it all depends whether it's the main taste or a side taste.
Okay.
Because if you're going to put in a lot of mustard or curry powder or something else to mask it, the non-fat mayonnaise was great. On the other hand, if you want to taste mayonnaise, that's not the one you want to use.
Well, then besides telling us what the ingredients are, you've got a prep time, a chill time, a bake time, advanced prep. You're reminding us to think backwards and not just start and forget what has to be done. You even have, I hate to say this, for on the run, but you have a month out plan.
I know.
Now, what does that mean? I've got to cook something a month out, or if I'd like to, I can.
It's throwing everybody. I can't believe it. I thought, oh, here I'm going to give people the biggest favor.
Scared us.
I'm going to give them a game plan. They could start a month early. But all these food editors are calling me, what is this a month ahead of time? You know, this isn't on the run.
I haven't even planned a party yet, but I got the soup in the freezer.
Right. No, what it basically is that to me, on the run does not just mean really short recipes. It also means that you have to plan your time.
Okay.
So that if you can make the soup a month ahead, and you can make the main dish 3 days ahead, and you can make the salad 2 days ahead, so that the day of the party you don't have to kill yourself, that to me is easy entertaining that's on the run.
Now, I did hear a rumor, though. You said that one day you were so organized, I believe it was one of your cooking classes, that you just went out and thought you should cook something else because you needed the stress level.
Yeah, right.
One more preparation.
Right. Yeah, we get used to the quote-unquote stress level. And I woke up one morning, I had nothing to do. It was the day of the party. I was having 80 people. I had every single thing made ahead. I had my table set. I had everything done. And, you know, I don't spend all day doing it. You would think, well, you know, I'm a cookbook author, so I have all day to spend, but I don't. I have assignments and work just like everybody else. So I just do a little bit at a time. I might chop the onions and get everything for a recipe prepared ahead, and then assemble it all the next night.
So a tip maybe to us who have never thought this far ahead, because we are on the run, is think about a soup you like, and just maybe one evening or one day in the week make that soup, and you give us the idea of what can be frozen and what can't, so we know that that's a flexible item.
Right. Or if you're making a soup for your family, double the recipe.
Oh, good point.
And put a half of it in the freezer so you'll have it.
Made extra, and we didn't think about that recently.
Right.
Now, you also are not frowning your nose or sticking your nose in the air against people who pick up a few pre-packaged things to put in with their other recipes. Didn't you say if you haven't got time, there are some shortcuts you'll approve, maybe picking up a pie crust instead of making your own, or you just suggested maybe pick up the pizza round if you couldn't make your own?
Oh, I am all for shortcuts. I mean, I don't like this approve, not approve. You know, I don't believe in it.
Because, you know, we do sometimes like to know those shortcuts, and I didn't know if a real professional thinks that that's
no, even
true.
in my book, like I have these wonderful little ginger cakelets for a picnic, and you make them in custard cups, and they put fruit, they're upside down things, and they cook in 6 minutes in the microwave because they're part of a summer picnic, so rather than heat up your kitchen. But I give you a faster alternative there of buying a cake mix and then fancying it up with these same fruits. So of course that's a whole other 3 testings there, but you know, by the time it comes to you, it's really easy.
And you have used the microwave in part of the meal in many ways and shown where it's microwavable and where you prefer stovetop boiling. You mentioned that on vegetables the other evening. You think sometimes the vegetables are better and greener and fresher by boiling or steaming or whatever rather than microwave, right?
And the only way you know is putting them side by side. And when you have that microwaved broccoli or asparagus next to a steamed broccoli or asparagus, the difference of night and day.
And you prefer which?
Oh, definitely the steaming.
The steam.
But that does not mean that I don't like the microwave. I found that in this book, I found more shortcuts for the microwave, but they're steps toward the end. They're usually not the complete cooking. And sometimes
the
they are,
garnish,
but I raise bread in the microwave. You know, you can do it in about 10 minutes, yeah. And
I'd probably cook the bottom of it before it was raised. I wouldn't know how to do it right.
No, you would if you read my book.
Well, when we go through the book, I wondered if we could show a few pictures and you could explain some of the things that show how you pull the meal together. We have here, it looks like a little fiesta
Mucho
look.
feisty fiesta.
Can camera see that at all?
Yeah, and that's part of a luncheon, but it could be a dinner. And all it is tortillas that are put into custard cups and baked. No fat. No extra fat. I seldom fry, if ever.
Okay.
And then it's like a chili, but it's a pork picadillo with a little cinnamon and a little raisins and tomatoes.
And then the presentation, you've made a suggestion there. I can see in the photo a little terracotta cup to hold the relish, perhaps, or using garnishes of limes and things and lemons that you'd see in Mexico.
And I also tried to put some extra points in, like here, these are the paper flowers, and these are the little straws that you can buy at your local import store, so that if you look back at that menu, you'll see on the menu page extra points, and you'll see them in your pictures.
What are we seeing here? The layered look of something.
That is a part of a Passover dinner, and it's a gefilte fish tort.
Oh, and you know, gefilte fish usually looks so bad.
It looks so awful, I know, and that is so beautiful. It really looks like a dessert, and it's carrots and beets in the center, so it's decorated with these thinly sliced carrots and beets.
Oh, so that's a very healthy vegetable thing, not a dessert item. What am I seeing in the
this is one of my favorite recipes. That's a salad with pasta pinwheels, and it's lasagna noodles that are spread with goat cheese and smoked salmon and some spinach and then rolled up.
Oh, beautiful. Now, an example of a salad like that sounds very new trend, very current, the goat cheese, the arugula. Did you come upon that by experimenting? Did you see something somewhere you liked? How did that get selected for the cookbook?
Well, I think I had seen something in a magazine with rolled lasagna noodles rolled up, and it was served as a main dish, and I thought, God, that's really clever. I bet you could do that and chill it and slice it. So the ideas are, as far as I'm concerned, nothing is new under the sun. Everything's an adaptation of something else.
Speaking of under the sun, here's a beautiful suggestion in a summer picnic or a 4th of July. Even the photo is so beautiful. Where did you shoot that?
Well, that was done in a house up in Napa Valley, and those are the Opus One vineyards that are grown especially for Robert Mondavi's very special wines.
Mondavi's a Minnesota boy, you know. He was born in the Iron Range, so we always think highly of his wines, whatever he's doing.
Right.
And then all the little accoutrements here that you've added and different touches, the little stars and the pinwheels. And as you say, then it shows which page to go to and how to learn what we could do there. I think it's going to be fascinating. You've also included food much more in the centerpiece. You've carved out, aren't you one of the first ladies who carved out a watermelon some years ago and gave us some of those tips in your early books?
Yes, right. The cover of my first book, which has sold over 1 million copies, is a watermelon carved into a whale.
Oh my goodness.
And it was so new at that time that the reviewers didn't quite know what to do with it, but people absolutely love it.
They thought you were having too much fun with your food.
That's right.
And just to prove that she does have fun with her food, we're going to go over to the table and she's going to show us how to use food and decorate the table in a more glamorous, fun way. Well, Marlene is going to show us some unbelievable things over here. She's brought an array of things you find in the grocery store, but she's turned them into works of art. Maybe you could start with how you plan that game plan with the invitation.
Oh, well, you know, the game plan is really throwing people, which really upsets me, because if it says a month in advance, then, you know, people that are looking at the book are thinking, oh my God, I got to start this party a month in advance, which is absolutely untrue. I mean, if you want to make yourself nuts and do it all the same day, you're not going to find easier recipes than mine.
Okay.
But on the other hand, my way of trying to help you entertain is to start a month early and make the soup and freeze it.
Okay, and the invitation has to get out too. So
right,
that's
the very first thing about the party is, a part of your game plan is get out your invitation. So I've come up with some a kind of unique invitations. These are all ones that actually went through the mail. This was one for a baby shower.
And they don't complain if it's by the stamp?
I took it to the post office and I asked whether I could put this on here, and they said fine.
Oh.
And they all got there okay. And this is just a little box of Gerber cereal.
And it was
they
like
come
a
in
little
a 6-pack.
foam envelope, so it would be a little tougher.
Right.
What do you call these, you know?
Yeah, they're padded envelopes.
Padded envelope, okay.
And then I just did on my computer.
Oh, how
so
adorable.
it just says, you know, please come to a baby shower for.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, then this is for 4th of July. It's just a little toilet paper roll that I have wrapped with red tissue paper and put some little silver stars
We
on.
have to plan months ahead then to get enough toilet paper rolls, right? You can
Or,
recycle
wait. You could use the paper towel rolls and cut them, or you could use gift wrap rolls and cut them.
Okay. But I like this size. Looks like a firecracker.
Now, when you get this, what are you going to do? You're going to have to pull it out.
But did it come in the mail this week?
Yeah, Again, in a padded envelope.
Oh, in a padded envelope. Oh,
Yeah.
red hot cookout. Adorable.
Yeah, so that again was just done on the computer.
What fun.
But you could do it by hand. None of these things have to be done a certain way.
That's true.
Now, I also have a kid's birthday party, a circus birthday party.
Okay.
So I've taken a little birthday hat, and it's Matt's birthday under the big top.
And also mailed that in this?
Yes, in a padded envelope.
So rather than using a flat piece of paper that we think of, you looked at three-dimensional objects and thought of a new way to use them.
Right.
Very
and
nice.
you know what? They end up being cheaper than invitations these days. Now, this is one of my favorites. I found this envelope that has balloons on it. And this I did for a friend's surprise birthday party. And inside you're going to find a balloon, and it says on it, happy birthday. That was already on the balloon. And what I did was I wrote on it with a felt pen, it's a surprise, don't blow it.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And then this one is for a Mexican lasagna, which is in the book, the easiest recipe in the world. And you can open this.
You're sending out
I'm
the
inviting you
pasta?
to my party.
Oh, my heavens. It's fiesta time at the Soroskys, and she's painted on the noodle.
Actually, just with felt pens.
Oh,
just written with
what
felt
a
pens.
wonderful idea.
Yeah, and you can make it Italian or whatever.
Ever seen anything like this?
Yeah.
This is wonderful.
And inexpensive. One package of lasagna noodles. Okay.
Now, you've got the person with the invitation. He's excited. He wants to come and see what is this fiesta going to be about. What do you do
so
at
you already
home?
have built-in excitement. So here are some things that you could probably find around your house or at a supermarket. This is a Mexican centerpiece, like for the Mexican lasagna, kind of a southwestern. If you have a cactus, now I'm doing this in a basket because I've been traveling with it, but you might just do this on your table.
All right.
You don't need a basket. Oh, the other thing is I've taken some fabric and just lined the bottom of it. I have two kind of complementary ones
you could use napkins there if you wanted,
Absolutely.
or placemats, or beautiful.
Anything, right. Scarves are even great.
Oh, sure.
We don't think about our scarves. Okay. Now, the other thing I've done is I've put little pieces of styrofoam underneath here to give me some height.
Okay.
And if you have a tablecloth, you might want to do that too. And then I've taken some little terracotta pots and just filled them with garlic and some chilies.
Adorable.
And this one I just took some separate, you know, the dried chilies that you buy, and just glued them together. And
Wonderful.
So I have no idea what I'm doing here because I'm working backwards, but that's okay. Okay, then put some chilies around, and it's so easy. And then if you have a strand of garlic, you can just put that, you know, hanging out onto your table. You know, you might want to put some, you know, I've just glued some on here just so I could get a quick centerpiece.
Are these easy to find, these little terracotta things too?
Yeah,
It's so
usually
cute, the
they're
square,
round.
yeah.
I just happen to find the square
It's
ones.
adorable.
And
Oh,
these,
here's the round ones.
These you might have seen at your at the hobby shops. These are just little planters that have a hole in the bottom.
Yes.
And they don't tell you what to do with them, but I assume they're for napkin rings, but they're so adorable.
Perfect, with the little raffia.
Yeah, with the little tied with the little raffia. So you put one of these at each person's place.
I love
and of
it.
course, if you want to make this into a name card, you just take one of those metallic markers and just write the name right on here. And then people have a little gift to take home too.
Perfect.
Okay, now here is one for a brunch or for what I call an impromptu don't panic party, because it's all things you have around the house or you go to the market and buy.
Okay.
And I start with the basket, and then I put into it some of this floral foam.
All right.
That's the styrofoam.
See, we forget to have that. That's a key, isn't it, for something?
It is.
Yes.
It is really important. I use it for everything. Okay, then you can cover it. Always start by covering it. And here I'm covering it with some lettuce.
Oh, beautiful.
And I put some grapes in. you know, because you're going to go to the market. Most likely you're not going to have everything in the house, even for an impromptu dinner.
No, what have you done here on a skewer? This
I've
is
taken
neat.
some grapefruit.
Okay.
Okay.
I never even think to cut grapefruit like this.
You could do oranges. You could do whatever you want. I do find that it's a little better to group them. Like keep all your grapefruit together, keep your grapes together, rather than making it all, you know, some grapefruit here and here and here, because it gets awfully busy. And then now here I just have some strawberries on the pick. But you use whatever you happen to have around.
And people could eat this if they wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. And then what I do is I take the little terracotta pots.
Yeah.
And I make individual ones for people to eat.
Oh, I'm sure these are so well received. Now, this could be good for buffets, too. I imagine you give a lot of buffet backup, because then it could become an edible display as well as a centerpiece on a dining room table.
Absolutely. But, you know, it really is interesting because the fruit you can eat afterwards, and it's much cheaper than flowers. You know, because flowers are very expensive when you make all floral.
I like the way you combine some flowers, though, with this. And, in fact, didn't you do some things with vegetables? I thought I saw you carved out a squash and had stuck some vegetables in as a serving piece.
No, I did that as a in my book as a Thanksgiving. Actually, they're place cards.
Okay.
And what you do is you just you scoop out the little acorn squash.
Yes.
And fill them with some of these fruits like this. And you know, if you put enough in, then they'll just hold. Or you could put some lettuce in first to hold them down, and then just put on a skewer the person's name.
Oh, I love it.
And
I love it.
so it's really kind of fun.
You know, name tags are the thing on a bigger meal too. A little place card. People don't do that as much, and you forget to do that. But that's very special when you sit down. There's a little place marked for you, and it's food.
Well, you know, my philosophy is that you need this more for your big family dinners than you even do for friends, because there's usually someone in a family that's not talking to someone else or in a fight with them. And if you put name cards down, then it kind of eliminates that problem of, well, I don't want to sit next to that person.
Oh, it's
and
wonderful.
I think the other, what was I going to say? I was going to say something about the other thing that it does is it makes it more personal, like you said. It
does.
just really does. It's
You
like
know,
that
you were
extra
waiting for
touch.
me to be there.
Right.
Well, this is just some of the fun that you'll learn in this wonderful book. Obviously, it's color and exciting, and it's food, and it's called Entertaining on the Run, Easy Menus for Faster Living. And thank you, Marlene, for giving us the chance to eat well and do it on the run.
Oh, thank you.
You can find this in your library and at the local bookstores.
A presentation of the Hennepin County Library.